So did you guys bring the goods?
That's what we're here for.
Good. Everybody know what's up next?
You sure you want to do this?
Think you're ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Good luck. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Welcome to the show. If you follow me on Facebook, you know that we have a little fun around here with special guests. We've had Lisa Steele from Fresh Eggs Daily, along with Georgia Pellegrini and the Beekman boys. In fact, the Beekman boys are here today. We always have a lot of fun with projects with our guests. Now, if you don't know the Beekman boys, their story's really interesting. You see, Josh and Brent, they come from New York City, and these are two guys that left the big city and bought a farm, and now they're sharing their experience with others. After taking in a neighboring farmer and his herd of dairy goats, the Beekman boys are producing soaps and cheeses that are catching the attention of people around the country. This show is filled with heirlooms, heritage breeds, and a little healthy competition. And if that's not enough, we've got a party to get ready for, so stay tuned.
I don't know how we got invited to P. Allen Smith's house and have to cook the turkey ourselves, but I'm Brent.
And I'm Josh.
And we are the owners of Beekman 1802 Farm in Sharon Springs, New York. We raise 110 different varieties of heirloom vegetables in the garden. So we raise our meats, and we can and freeze and dehydrate and everything you can do to preserve food through the winter, and that's what we eat.
What if I pulled out another bird? A rabbit! No. The key to keeping a heritage breed turkey or any poultry moist is to brine it first. Brining can help soften everything up. This is a simple one. We're just going to do coarse salt, some sugar, and a brine is basically a liquid and a salt. Anything else that you put in addition to that is just adds a little bit of extra flavor. So we usually brine our birds with water, salt, sometimes a little wine, sometimes a little apple cider, and then any host of spices or herbs that you would use in poultry cooking. Grab me some rosemary, some dried rosemary. There's some either place. You could pretty much use anything in this brine, any sort of flavor that would use with poultry. Sage. It's not going to give it a ton of flavor. That's going to come in the cooking process, but for the brining, just to soften it, the main thing you need to get in there is salt.
All throughout the year, you buy so many different spices for recipes, and then you don't use the rest of the container. Throw them into your brine. You never know what's going to work out.
All right, so we're going to put our brine, and you really just need it in a pot big enough to hold the turkey.
Well, we like to call ourselves accidental farmers. We both grew up in very rural areas. I grew up in North Carolina, and Josh grew up in Wisconsin. So we both grew up in families that gardened for food and things like that. And then we both moved to the city, New York City, and had our big careers, and then really bought the farm as a weekend getaway.
And shortly after that, in 2008, in the big recession, we both lost our jobs. And so all of a sudden we had this huge mortgage on a farm in upstate New York. We had inherited 80 goats from a neighboring farmer, and we said, we gotta make a business out of this farm. Oh, this one's heavy. This is gonna be a good one. And then you're just gonna fill it with water.
Let that soak for how long? 24 hours? 48?
Yeah, a good 24 is good. In the refrigerator. Obviously, you don't want to leave it out at room temperature that whole time. So overnight, it's just going to suck up all that salt and all that moisture and make the bird nice and juicy. Well, heritage breed turkey, like any heritage breed meat, they have stronger flavors than a lot of the meats you'll find in grocery stores. And especially in poultry, what you'll find is they can be a little tough if they're cooked wrong.
All right, now after 48 hours, we're going to get the turkey out of the brine.
This is probably the most important thing when preparing a bird, I think. You want to get that beautiful, crispy skin, You know, not the tough leathery skin. It has to be so totally dry. The entire bird, inside and out, you want as little moisture as possible when you put it in the oven, because the steam, what the steam does is it boils, you know, basically boils the skin.
It makes the skin too chewy.
Turns it into leather, so. And the inside's gotta be dry too. So to cook the heritage turkey, we stuffed it with lemon and orange, which just give it a little bit of citrus essence while it's cooking, and then coat the top with olive oil and salt. Very simple.
And then we're going to just sprinkle a little salt all over. And then why don't you get about 2 cups of water to put into the bottom of the pan. And then it'll be ready to go into the oven.
Another key is tuck the wings underneath. This looks like it's gonna hurt the bird, but trust me, they won't mind. There we go. You gotta have a little bit of muscle when you do this. There, perfect.
Beautiful.
If you have some cooking string, you can tie the legs together so they don't splay out as you're roasting. If you cook a heritage breed the way you would cook a supermarket breed, it's gonna dry out and be leather. Long and low is what we say. So a 400, 425 oven, that's what you wanna start it very hot, and then about 30 minutes you wanna turn it down lower than you would normally cook a turkey, down to about 300, 325, and you wanna cook it long. So start high and then long and low, and then the sinews in the meat will have a chance to loosen up and stay tender. You can basically either brown a turkey in the beginning or the end. So we're going to protect it in the beginning, and then at the end, remove it until you get the skin at the right temperature. And now we're not trying to create an airtight seal here, because that would just steam the bird. We're just trying to protect the skin from browning.
Coming up next, I'm mixing goat cheese with the bounty of the garden. Midsummer is the season where there are plenty of tomatoes and basil to harvest. So many varieties of tomatoes, as a matter of fact. I love the subtle differences in flavor in so many of the heirlooms. But what about a recipe that can combine all of these flavors of summer? It's easy and delicious. You'll want to start by laying out the puff pastry sheet onto a lightly floured surface. Then cut the sheet into 6 rectangles. Place the cut dough onto a lightly greased baking sheet and prick it with a fork. This will prevent it from rising. Then, in a preheated 400-degree oven, bake the pastries for about 10 to 12 minutes or until golden brown. Okay, so while that's all going on in the oven, take a 1.5 cups of loose leaf sweet basil and cut it into thin strips and combine it with 2 cups of cherry tomatoes halved. Now you can see here I'm using 2 different varieties. The more variety, the better, in my opinion. Add to that 1/4 cup of olive oil and gently toss this, just adding some salt to taste. Now the next step here is to add some lovely locally produced goat cheese, although this is not so local because, well, Brent and Josh brought it from their farm in Sharon Springs, but it's so fresh. So I have 5 ounces of goat cheese here. Then I'm gonna take a little goat's milk. And what I have here is about 1/2 cup. You may not need all of it, so I'm going to just start with about half, because what you want to do is make it very creamy. You can add some garlic. I love garlic. So this is 1 big clove of garlic that I just chopped up a few minutes ago. So I'm going to add this to it, and I'm just going to take a fork and I'm going to work the garlic and the goat milk and this fresh goat cheese all together like this. It's really beautiful and it smells so good. You can use a hand mixer if you want, but why bother? Just a fork works just fine. What you want to do is you want to get a consistency like this, sort of a peanut butter icing consistency. So I didn't really need to use all of that goat's milk. That's why I want you to use it sparingly. This looks about right. Now it's time to assemble these babies. Next, just take that mixture and evenly divide and spread it atop the cooked pastries. Then slice your large tomatoes about 1/2 inch thick and place them on top and bake the tart for about 5 minutes, maybe a little more if you'd like. Then place each tart on a plate and mound the cherry tomato and basil mixture on top. Then to bump up the presentation, just quarter some of those leftover tomatoes. Garnish them with some of the strips of basil, add some salt and drizzle it with oil. What a beautiful presentation. I'm so glad the guys brought goat cheese for my part of the challenge because there's so many great things you can make with it. And this is one of the easiest and most delicious things you can create. This is gonna go over big time at the party. You should give it a try at home. After the break, a trip out to the vegetable garden with the Beekman boys, so stay tuned.
Well, what a pretty little backyard garden you have
Well,
here.
thank you. Got a little out of control, decided I wanted to do an acre vegetable garden. My brother rolled his eyes, he said, an acre? And initially we had it rowed out, you know, sort of classic, just typical farm rows. And a couple of years ago I thought, you know, this is really not as interesting as it could be if it was divided into sort of garden rooms. So we did all raised beds, and I think it's visually much more interesting, and frankly I think it's easier for us to take care of it with a raised bed.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why we chose raised bed for ourselves, because once you fill in a raised bed with seedlings, you don't have to weed as much.
You know, I've seen your garden and you've got raised beds. It looks great.
Yeah, we do 52 raised beds, and they're a little bit higher than yours.
They are. They're taller.
Yeah,
My back's a little bit stiffer, so I gotta get it higher.
Josh is a lot older than you are, Al.
Hardly.
You know what I love about your garden is you've got your mix and ornamentals.
Oh, yeah.
Because people think, you know, vegetable garden doesn't have to be just utilitarian.
No,
it should be
I
pretty.
love mixing it up. You know, here we have salvia and marigolds, and then there's a whole crop of cosmos coming up through, and then here are raspberries ready for picking, and
Yes,
the
I'm gonna
color
pick
really
some right
works
now.
together. Yeah, grab one. They're just delicious.
And the marigolds and salvia keep away the bugs.
They do. The marigolds are really great for nematodes. We made these tunnels with just basic hog fencing, you know, and you just bend it over, and we supported it with some rebar on either side. And it makes for a really fun experience. You're kind of going through a little rabbit hole.
Yes, the secret garden.
A secret garden, and we've covered it with hyacinth bean vine, one of my favorites. The flowers are delicious, the pods are gorgeous and edible.
The whole thing's edible.
The whole thing's edible. It's really great.
And it's hot out
I'm
here,
getting a little hot, even in the shade.
Yeah, I could use a little shot of something cool to drink.
We're going to cook something up for you that's going to cool you down.
Ooh, well, let's, why don't we head to the house?
Do it.
To more rhubarb in the world.
Yes.
After the break, we'll head back into the kitchen for refreshments. We're gonna have a little fun with Josh and Brent. While they're away, we're gonna switch out the turkey. Now I have to hide the evidence.
Well, first batch
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, great.
Good.
Good. Project Rhubarb coming along?
It is.
It is.
Gosh, it smelled amazing earlier.
Try a little
Want to give it a
bit.
taste?
The fruits of your labor? I was just checking on your turkey.
How's he doing?
He's doing fine.
Not traumatized?
No, well, a little bit, but he's going to be okay for the
No
party.
turkeys were harmed
Look
in the
at
making
that
of this.
color. Isn't that
beautiful?
gorgeous? Looks like cough syrup, but I'm sure it doesn't taste like that. Ooh, that's good.
It's good, right?
The ginger's coming through.
Oh, yes.
It's
Fresh
fantastic.
ginger.
That is so nice.
So we put everything in, the ginger, the orange zest, the rhubarb. Now we're gonna put a cup of sugar.
Cup of sugar.
You need sugar with rhubarb.
Right, and of course some water.
A cup of water.
Gotta have the water.
And really, that's it. So I'm just gonna put this on the stove, and we're gonna simmer it until it's the consistency of applesauce.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, just until the
Look at
rhubarb
that.
is really tender when you stick a
And
fork.
that doesn't take that long,
About
really.
15
No, it
minutes.
falls
It's
apart
really
very
quick.
fast.
Good.
Just going to use a bowl and a sieve and strain it through, and you're going to get this beautiful syrup. All right?
It is gorgeous.
It's going to take about 15 minutes, and while that's cooking down, we can make up some ice cream floats. How about that?
I'm all about that.
I'll get the
do
ice
it.
cream.
Let's do it.
Okay, good.
3 spoonfuls,
Seltzer.
about 3/4 of a cup.
Yeah,
Little vanilla ice cream in each.
Look how pretty that looks.
it really is.
And this syrup too, I mean, you can just use it as a syrup on top of your ice cream.
Marvelous.
All right, shall we make a toast to rhubarb?
Okay, to rhubarb. To more rhubarb in the world.
Yes,
Yes.
indeed.
Cheers.
Rhubarb for
Cheers.
everybody.
So good. But what about the bird? We need to check the bird.
Oh, he doesn't need a rhubarb float.
We should make a float for the bird. Josh, can you give me the mitts there? This thing is going to be hot. All right, yeah, here we go. Wow, it's smelling really good. Okay, there you go.
Alrighty.
Oh my gosh, what happened? You guys,
shrunk.
it shrunk. Was this on the weight reduction plan? Oh my God.
It was on the rhubarb float.
Poor little thing.
The rhubarb
was.
float diet.
So don't worry, the turkey's safe, but we just had to have a little funny with you guys. Yeah.
That's fine.
It's down in the other kitchen cooking, so it'll be great.
Great.
Yeah. Hey, if you want the recipes from this show and many more, as well as some useful tips, be sure to sign up for my newsletter at pallensmith.com and check us out on Facebook. We'll be right back.
And though your love is even colder, I wonder where you are tonight.
Fellas, I had the best time with you all today.
We did too. Our first trip to Arkansas, and you're the best ambassador.
Oh, well, you're kind to say that, and you took my little turkey joke very well.
That was a good one.
Slipping that little
was a
Cornish
good one.
game in and on
Didn't see it
you.
coming.
Well, I hope you'll come back soon.
Oh, we will.
We got to get some gardening tips.
Well, oh, hey, you've got it going on. You don't need to worry about that. But we've got a big party about to kick off. Lots of people want to see you, so I'll catch up with you in just a few minutes.
All right, we'll see you there.
Very good.
See ya.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have. And I hope you picked up some ideas that are inspiring to you to reach out and do something that has a heritage component to it, whether it's going to a farmer's market, visiting a farm, or just creating something in your own backyard. So until next time, for Garden Style, I'm Alan Smith. Wait up, guys.
Where you are tonight.
Gorgeous birds.
Don't you think a couple of them look great on display for our party?
Oh, that's
gosh.
a good idea.
Yes,
People
yeah.
Yeah, well, why
always
don't you
love
guys
that.
catch a few, and I've got to run. We'll catch up later.
What?
Oh, got it. Oh. There you go. All right, let's go. Let's take it to Alan.
Ooh.